You tired of the pain and discomfort caused by those bulky, ill-fitting dentures? Sick of feeling self-conscious when you eat with family and friends? It's time to take charge. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's best of state winner, is here to give you your freedom back. Say goodbye to dentures and say hello to the All-On-X dental implant procedure. The permanent, life-changing fix that lets you chow down on your favorite foods without a care in the world and flash that confident smile once again. With cutting-edge technology, you can have a brand new permanent smile in as little as 24 hours. Yes, you heard right. Fast forward to finals and let your new smile steal the show. And here's the best part. Your consultation is absolutely free. At Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's #1 dental implant center, they've helped thousands of patients love their smiles again. You could be next. It only takes 60 seconds to start your journey to a happier, healthier smile at StubbsDental.com. That's StubbsDental.com.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,025 off a new furnace and air conditioner. And you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,025 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,025 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, Bike Shop.
Yeah. It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Still some slowdowns remain southbound I-15 from Warm Springs Road down to 6 North. And if you're headed up to the slopes, restrictions are in place for both Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A wet and cloudy day today with a high of 46 degrees. Tomorrow, more rain and snow and a high of 39. Then the wet weather should roll out by Sunday as we see a high of 44. Right now, it's cloudy and 44 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
17 states, including Utah, are involved in a lawsuit against the federal government over what is called Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Section 504 defines what constitutes a disability, and it was updated during the Biden administration. 17 states' attorneys general say that the changes President Biden made, including adding gender dysphoria to the list of disabilities, were unlawful. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host this afternoon, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Leah Murray. Good to see you, Leah.
Always a pleasure,
I haven't
Greg.
been with you for a little while.
It's been a minute.
This lawsuit was filed last fall. It was actually filed in September of 2024, before our current Attorney General had been elected.
Can you pause for just a second?
Absolutely.
I just want to list the states that Utah is hanging with, right? So it's Alaska, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, and West Virginia.
What do all these states have in common?
I feel like they're all Republican states.
They all have
right?
Republican attorneys general. And you know what's even more interesting? Look where this case was filed.
In Lubbock. Oh, wait, is that the district court that you really...
Yeah.
I just want you all to know that
okay.
the district court judge, and I will let Greg say it in a second, but this person lives rent-free
Right.
in Greg Scortis' head.
Right. The United States District Court for the Northern District of Texas, Lubbock Division. It wasn't just picked out of the air.
Right. Every single conversation we've had about district courts, I do feel
I know.
this judge is the person who's
So
doing it.
this was a targeted file in the District of Texas.
All right, pause right there. What does
judge-
that mean, a targeted file?
Well, I mean, you're not supposed to be able to do this in America. Judges are you usually when you file a case, Leah, in Utah, you file it in the court. There are 16 or 17 judges, and it sort of revolves around who gets the case. This particular district only has one judge. If you're in Lubbock, you get this judge. So if you want that judge, you know that filing in that district, you're going to get him. Now, there's some rural districts in Utah that are the same way, but you have to file where you have the case. This is a where you have the cause of action, rather. This is a federal case, so you could have filed it anywhere in the country. They chose this district because this judge is known to be very conservative, very MAGA friendly. Let's be honest. And so cases are filed in his court, not accidentally, because he is usually very friendly to very, very conservative causes.
All right, so look, if you've ever wondered if we here at KSL are seeing your texts and your emails and your tips, we totally are paying attention. And we understand that the lawsuit dealing with Section 504, man, I'm going to tell you what, we've been getting a lot of conversation about this one. We are going to break it down now, and then we're going to chat with our new Attorney General during the next segment. So I'm telling you, if you have feelings, text us, and maybe we can see if we can get those questions in when we are chatting with the Attorney General.
And you text to 57500.
Correct. So here's the thing. I would just want to reveal a personal conflict of interest. I have 2 children with chronic illness. They both have a 504. So I think a lot of people know what 504 is just by saying that. It is a part of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. And I know it because you cannot discriminate against my children who have a disability while they are in school. So, for example, just very specifically, my children have type 1 diabetes, which means they have to maybe eat some gummy worms or something. They might need some low supplies.
The school has to make accommodations.
Right. And so my child taking the ACT, you're not supposed to bring food in, right?
Oh.
Okay, so they had to make an accommodation so that she could have next to her on the desk, her fruit snacks in case she had a low, right? So that might, and I think all sorts of parents might have a child who has a 504. When we talk about a 504, what we mean is that list of accommodations that the school has to abide by.
And that list of disabilities that the school has to recognize and then abide by. So what happened was this, and the reason we're having this conversation is that President Biden, when he was president, I don't have the exact wording of this or timing of it, added some language to 504 to include gender dysphoria. He added gender dysphoria as a list of disabilities that would be included under 504. That was controversial at the time, but it was unchallenged. Now it's being challenged by states that recognized that there was going to be a change in administration and knew that this was the time to maybe take a second look at that.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
He made that change via executive order?
Right.
So I don't understand why Donald Trump, the new president, can't just make a change getting rid of gender dysphoria out of that language. Why do we need a lawsuit?
You are so smart. For one thing, Donald Trump wasn't the president in September. Okay. Today, you are exactly right. And people are saying this might be much ado about nothing because Trump might very well come in and say, as he has with a lot of other things related to gender dysphoria. For example, he made an executive order that federal prisons could no longer treat that as a condition. Prisons have to treat illnesses. If you have a toothache, they got to treat your toothache. If you're diabetic, for example, they have to give you a special diet. What he said is no longer do the prisons have to recognize that as something that deserves special treatment. I don't know how that's flown so far, but that was something, an executive order he made. To answer your question, he could very well do the same thing here. Why he hasn't already, I don't know, except that he's had a lot of executive orders that he's been doing, and this may not be high on his list of priorities.
Well, that's interesting because the defendant in the case is Xavier Becerra, who was the Secretary of HHS under Biden. So now I guess the question is, does the department under RFK Jr. defend rigorously against this lawsuit? I guess I just feel like how do I say? If we know,
right, I know where you're going.
Right, like
and you're exactly right.
You go.
No. I mean, I've cut you off twice, and that was unfair. But what does the current administration do? First of all, Trump may very well just take that language out. And second, the defendant in the case, Department of Health and Human Services, might say, you win. We're not going to put a lot of time and money into defending this, except that the lawsuit goes a little bit further.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because the lawsuit doesn't just say, right, Greg, hey, let's get rid of gender dysphoria. Doesn't one count of the lawsuit, as you read it, say, let's get rid of 504?
That's what's got everybody upset. And that's why a lot of parents are contacting us and saying, hey, what's going on here? Because it does say, I'm looking at, there are 4 counts to this lawsuit that say the section is vague and ambiguous, arbitrary and capricious. Count 3 says Section 504 is unconstitutional, and it doesn't discriminate between the old 504 and the new 504 with the new rule in it. It just says 504 is unconstitutional. If that particular count prevails, it's all gone, which would be something I don't know that anyone really intended. I don't know why that was included in here.
Right, and I think what's interesting is quite a bit of this energy, I think, around education right now is that parents should have rights, right?
Sure.
There's these parents' rights laws and parents' rights, and I am a parent. I understand that I have feelings, and I think I have rights. But if we get rid of 504, I just lost some rights for my children.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to need Utah to step in and say, you get to have a fruit snack when you are taking the ACT. And now I have to ask a different level of government to do that when the right was already in place for 52 years, right, Greg?
I know.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know that, why did they put that in there? I don't know, Leah. In fact, a lot of people are surprised because they're telling me, well, they're not trying to change 504. They're just trying to take the Biden rule out of it, which I understand. I don't necessarily agree with, but I understand. But if you read the lawsuit, claim for relief, count 3, Section 504 is unconstitutional. They're trying to have this judge declare that entire section is unconstitutional, in that it would tend to. They have a lot of different rules why it's unconstitutional. Not the least of which is that it sort of exceeds the spending clause of the Constitution, and that Congress didn't have the authority to do this. So I mean, wow. Where we are. It's going to be interesting because after the break, we're going to stay on this topic and get some insights from our own Attorney General, Derek Brown, who has, by default, almost joined the lawsuit. I mean, he's the Attorney General now representing Utah, who's a party to this. He's going to talk to us about that, where his position is, where Utah stands, and maybe try to alleviate some of the fears that parents are having about this. Stay with us.
The newest part of your morning, and still so familiar.
When you wake up and listen to a radio show, it's like you're a part of a family. You're listening in on people you know, and it's magnificent that Andy Farnsworth is sitting in the chair because he's someone we know.
Utah's Morning News. Andy Farnsworth joins Amanda Dixon to bring you important news in the car. 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and over the years, you've heard me praise the Connecticut soft water systems. You've heard that so often, you might be tempted to chuck a shoe at your radio. Well, hang on, because I've got some great news. Get this, Connecticut will pay you $50. I'm not kidding on this. They'll pay you $50 to buy a competing water softener from another dealer. Ready for the rules, though? Well, they're pretty simple. Invite Connecticut of Utah to your home for a free estimate on a Connecticut water softener. If within 60 days of hearing them out, you buy any other system from any other water softener dealer, Connecticut of Utah will fork over $50. That's how sure they are that after hearing them out, you won't settle for anything less than a Connecticut water softener. Now, this offer does expire in 30 days, so don't delay. Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com. Tell them Doug sent you.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing.
Need a perfect event venue? This is the Place Heritage Park. Ideal for weddings and events featuring 11 venues, beautiful grounds, affordability for any celebration. This is theplaceheritagepark.org.
The murder of 2 men forces their families to wrestle with impossible questions. Who is forgiveness for? Does everyone deserve a second chance? Follow Season 2 of The Letter, Ripple Effect, at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Before the break, we began a discussion on the lawsuit over Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. One big part of this act is how it defines what a disability is, and then also how people with disabilities are protected, right? How they receive protections. Quite a few of the texts we've heard or received, here at KSL, and the concerns we've heard relate to the educational aspect of it. And you all heard me say in the last segment, my children have 504s given their disabilities. In this segment, we're going to bring Utah Attorney General Derek Brown on to talk about the lawsuit. Welcome to the show, Attorney General.
Thanks for having me, Lee. I appreciate it.
All right. So just right what I was talking about, right? The issue for me is when we read the lawsuit, it seems like 504 is being called into question constitutionally. And I read your post on Instagram today where you said, I hear parents and that you believe it's critical we vigorously protect Section 504 accommodations. Can you talk to us about what this lawsuit's intent is, right? Does it try to wipe out 504? And if it doesn't, why is that count in there? Just explain that to us.
Well, and I don't know that that's the point of the lawsuit, but first of all, I appreciate your your backstory on this because my kids also. I mean, this is personal to me. 504s and IEPs are they're a critical part of our culture and how we help those with disabilities. And so, I mean, I've had a lot of people reaching out saying, "Hey, are you trying to undermine 504s?" The answer is no. We're going to protect 504s. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that they are maintain their place where they are in our legal structure. And also, this is for me it's been an interesting process because the reason this became an issue is that a couple of days ago I started hearing from parents, and I was not aware that 4 or 5 months ago, before I took office, the Office of the Attorney General signed on to this lawsuit. And so the reason for the lawsuit, and Leah, you and Greg really nailed the issue here in the previous segment, but it's really about gender dysphoria, right? The question is whether the Biden administration has the ability to just on their own say, okay, gender dysphoria is now a covered disability under 504, and states like Utah need to pay the fees and the all the expenses that are associated with that. And so I think that that was the point of the lawsuit. But as you've mentioned, towards the end of the lawsuit, as I'm now discovering, there is this claim for challenging 504 altogether. And I think ultimately I've let parents know that we're going to make sure that that's this is not an issue. 504s will stay in place, and I'm committed to protecting that. But I think the point, to answer your question, the real point of the lawsuit was to say, well, can the administration just on their own add gender dysphoria to the existing law? And that's really the crux of the lawsuit as I read it.
So Derek, following up on that, it would seem, and this is something you just said and something Leah asked about earlier, Biden finalizes the rule May 9th, 2024. Couldn't Trump come in and do the same thing and just take that rule that Biden put in and just take it out, which would seemingly make the lawsuit moot for the most part?
Exactly. And that's really, I mean, without sort of giving too much, I know that those processes are in the works. And the Trump administration is moving very quickly. I mean, for instance, last week I was on Inside Sources and made reference to a lawsuit by the Department of Justice previously against Utah for an inmate that involved sort of transgender issues. And so it was a lawsuit against corrections. And as I recall, KSL was the first one to hear about this and report on it. And the point of the story was the fact that DOJ, within like a week after a new administration came in, had already addressed and voluntarily dismissed the lawsuit. And so this is one of those issues with the flurry of executive orders that we're seeing. I would not be surprised to see this be addressed. But you are correct that whereas this was done by the previous administration, it could be undone by the current administration. And so that's something that we're also looking at and looking at the different options there.
Derek, can you tell us, and I totally appreciate what you just said, things are in motion, right? So you're not necessarily sure where everything will land as it all kind of plays out. But have you thought about whether you would take Utah off the lawsuit if all the 504 protections were in play? Like, would you leave Utah on the lawsuit? Like, is there anything that might have you, I don't even know what the word would be, unsign from it? Is there a way that you might do that?
Usually, yes. The word is just withdraw. Now, what we would do, though, is right now the case is, as you guys mentioned, it's currently on pause, effectively. And so, rather, I think the approach right now is to work with the other states, work with the administration, and figure out what is the quickest, best solution that protects 504s, that protects kids, that protects what it is that we have and the value in these programs. At the same time, though, resolving that underlying issue about gender dysphoria, because that's a critical issue, and it deals more than – it's a bigger issue than that. I mean, the real question is to what extent any administration can up and add new disabilities as part of that. And so, I mean, these are important issues, but I'm committed to making sure that we protect the program, we protect kids, because as I mentioned, like for you, Leah, this is personal for me as well.
Derek, you inherited this lawsuit. This was something filed by the prior administration, and you can, at your will, I suppose, bail out at some point. And I appreciate what you just said to Leah. But the lawsuit was filed in part, well, in large part, almost entirely, because of Biden's inclusion of this gender dysphoria. It seems like that's something that would have been important to you two at the time. And I don't know that I'm asking you something that you can't answer, but do you think Utah should have been in the lawsuit in September of 2024 when it was filed?
Well, I think that they're asking the right question. Now, the question of whether it's constitutional is one that I think that is the key here. The key should be to what extent the administration can do what they did. And so ultimately, I think that's the main point of the lawsuit. And the way these things work is that you work with other states to make sure that the right questions are asked. And so I'm working with them to make sure that we ask the right questions and that we resolve the issue as quickly as possible. And so I'm open to all sorts of different options here, but ultimately the main option is to protect our kids and protect the Section 504.
So it's interesting, Derek. We now take texts while we're on the air. And one of the texts we got in said, 504 has gone too far. My wife is a former educator, and the number of 504 that she dealt with was just amazing. So I thought that text kind of speaks to what you just said. Like maybe the heart of the question is to what extent an administration can add disabilities. So I'm wondering, too, and maybe I'm asking you, and obviously you and I both have personal reasons we care about 504. But what do you think is the right path, right, to consider that? Maybe there are too many disabilities on the list for 504, or like what role do states play in having those conversations, right, given that a lot of these services are managed at the state level and the local level, right? And maybe that's the next lawsuit or the next conversation, but like where do you think we should go with that? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's a great question. I mean, I think that we do a good job as a country of navigating that. I mean, Leah, you teach at Weber State. I've taught as an adjunct at BYU for many years. And, I worked with students that had, IEPs and requests for accommodations. And I was always happy to do it because I didn't feel like it was being abused. I felt like there were legitimate reasons. And so I think that as a country, if that happens to be the question that we look at in the future, there are ways of doing that. And I think Congress can look at that and address that. But the heart of this case is really who should be the decision maker. And I mean, should it be an executive agency that's not accountable, or should it be members of Congress who pass the laws and are accountable to us? And this is something I've said, all along the campaign trail, I said that the way to resolve issues like this is to have accountable, whether it's our lands issues as a state or, business, overregulation, the way we deal with it is to make sure that accountable folks who are elected are the ones that are making these decisions. Because when you have unaccountable bureaucrats making them, there's just really no recourse if they go too far. And so anyway, it's a great question. And my answer would be, if we're going to strike that balance a different way, then our elected officials should be the ones that pass laws specifically doing that. But I feel like we do a great job of that. And I've seen that on a personal note with, for the last decade, countless students that I have worked with. And so I feel good about the way that we do it as a country.
All right, Utah's Attorney General Derek Brown, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Those are great words to hear. Utah's Attorney General Derek Brown.
That's right.
Thanks, Leah. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
When Inside Sources returns, we've got more special coverage of the legislative session, bills on signatures and flags coming up next.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Schleus. KSL's top story. A controversial bill that would remove fluoride from Utah's drinking water caused a stir in a Senate committee. Members of the public showed up to comment and plead with lawmakers. Emily Lockhart lives in Lehigh.
Without their consent is wrong. And this bill restores choice to parents in their home.
Dentists and healthcare officials showed up to advocate against the bill, saying fluoridated water is safe here in the U.S. Pediatric dentist Brent Larson says it's made a huge difference with his patients.
The 25% reduction in dental disease, if anything in my experience, is an understatement of the benefit it provides.
The bill is now headed to the full Senate for a vote. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The number of people with the flu continues to rise at record levels.
Nearly 30 million flu illnesses have been reported to the CDC so far this season, with 16,000 deaths. Overall, respiratory illness activity is listed as high nationwide, with the highest number of doctor visits for flu-like symptoms since 2009. Flu season usually peaks in February. Flu deaths continue to surpass COVID deaths this week for the first time since the pandemic started.
That is ABC's Chuck Severson. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is down by 195 points, sitting at 44,515. S&P down by just a couple points. The NASDAQ, however, it's up by 68 points. Looking for a little bit more rain, possibly some snow over the weekend. A complete update of the forecast is coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
It's the Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. If the cold is seeping in through your old windows, Advanced Window Products will install state-of-the-art double-pane windows with insulated frames. Your home will take on an exciting new look, and you're going to save on your heating bill. And not for nothing, your air conditioning in summer. And right now at the President's Day sale, you save $2,500 off 10 windows or more. For 38 years, Advanced Windows has been building beautiful custom windows and frames right here in Utah. There's no middleman, so you save. So keep out the cold, cut down your energy bills, and save $2,500 with one call to Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100. An expert comes out for a no-pressure consultation. They'll tell you about the payment plans, including no payments for 24 months. The Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. Get $2,500 off. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or just go to advancedwindows.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Something amazing is happening here. Scientists are using AI to study how whales talk to each other. CDW experts can give researchers the power to process complex data with HP workstations, advanced by AMD Ryzen Threadripper Pro processors. With easier handling of AI workloads, your organization can bring powerful insights to the surface. Make amazing happen. HP, AMD, and CDW. Learn more at cdw.com/HPAMD.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
Les Olson IT has the office technology you need to take your business to the next level. Protect your business with state-of-the-art security cameras, sensors, alarms, and access control protocols. Get peace of mind with cybersecurity from our elite IT services team. Reach the next level of productivity, security, and success with Les Olson IT. Learn more at lesolson.com.
And weather together, it's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. What's happening on the roads, Ricky?
We do have an accident northbound I-15 approaching 2100 south. It had been in the middle of I-15. However, it's been moved over to the right shoulder, but residual backups remain into Murray. Lagoon is hiring full-time year-round ride maintenance technicians and electricians with journeyman or apprentice-level experience. Apply online at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, the chance of showers is tapering off this afternoon, but it is set to return tomorrow, probably in the form of rain showers. I'm Maria Chaleos. This is KSL News Radio 102.7 FM at 1160 AM.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
During the primary and general elections last year, there was a lot of controversy and discussion over the privacy of signatures gathered for candidates to get on the ballot. Some people wanted that to be public in the name of transparency. Others wanted it to be hidden in the name of privacy. And if you recall, Leah, the ballot, the signature gathering process was the way that a number of our candidates actually got to the ballot as opposed to going through the convention caucus process.
That's right, because they're using the pathway created by SB 54, right? So if you feel like the caucus convention system is maybe not the friendliest place to your candidacy, or you feel like that system excludes voters because they can't possibly make it on a Tuesday evening, or a Saturday can't spend 17 hours, and you feel like the primary maybe is a more inclusive way, right, of getting more people access to the process. So it might not just be that you think it's unfriendly. It might be that you actually think a primary is the right way to go. These people are going to use the signature gathering route to get on the ballot and force a primary.
Yeah, and actually right now on Capitol Hill, a bill is being heard in committee that would publish gathered signatures on the Lieutenant Governor's website. It's House Bill 374. It's called Signature Collection Amendments. And earlier in the session, we spoke with the bill sponsor, State Representative Mike Kohler. He spoke with Inside Sources about the motivations for this specific bill.
When we went through the last election cycle, there were some issues dealing with much of the election, many parts of it. Several legislators talked about doing other bills on other parts. I took the one that I thought was somewhat important, and that was when the signatures that were submitted to help the governor and the lieutenant governor get in, and I don't care whose side you're on, but I felt it was wrong that they should be able to keep those and not release them, where they were part of an election process that should be public.
And so in response to that, he spoke about what the bill would actually do.
So my bill basically does two things. There's a couple of cleanup parts on some of the signatures and how you get on and how you get off if you don't want to stay on and actually be counted. But what this does, and my main reason was to put it on, or to put something in the law that once a signature is certified or a signature group is certified, within 5 days it has to be published, and it'll go on the Lieutenant Governor's
Anyone
website.
can see this?
Be open.
Not just candidates. Okay.
That's correct. It'll be open to the public for 90 days once the 5-day cycle is gone and it's certified. My intent was that once you get on and are part of this signature gathering process to get a person on the ballot, that you could not redact your name and just be a number. It's public.
I just want to say that was another one of our co-hosts, right? Because that was sound from earlier in the session, kind of following up there with the representative.
So you said something interesting during the break, and it's near and dear to me, which is the expectation of privacy. I mean, I deal with it every day when we deal with Fourth Amendment issues, search and seizure, expectation of privacy. And this, it was interesting that you used that phrase, that what's a person's expectation of privacy? When you vote, you absolutely expect that's going to be private. But when you're signing a signature gathering process, you're sitting down, this person should be on the ballot. Do you think that a person expects that they will be anonymous, that their identity, when they make that signature, is there an expectation? I mean, I don't know. It's a tough thing we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I love how you're asking that question. Should there be an expectation of privacy? So let's just go right at that normative question, Greg. Is the issue around transparency? Because what I hear the representative saying is it feels like signatures come in to the Lieutenant Governor's office, the elections office under the direction of the Lieutenant Governor. They certify those signatures, and then into like a black box it goes.
They go,
right?
right.
They go,
Yep.
right? And if the Lieutenant Governor is someone who is on the ballot, because, by the way, that office is an elected office.
And it happened this year.
Right. But also, county clerks are responsible for running for office and also running the elections that they are in. Maybe there is a question around the value of transparency. So I want to be clear. Do voters have an expectation of privacy is an important value to think about. And also, or maybe but also, or both and, the government and other people running for office have an expectation of transparency. So let's just compare it to the ballot.
Right.
If I go in and vote, you actually don't know how I voted, but you know I was there. So, and I show up on voter lists, and I'm always wondering how they show up because the texts I get during election cycle seem to be, I must be on 12 different groups of people's lists. So who knows what I've done over the years to get on those lists. That's fine. So obviously there's some transparency there about who showed up. The question for me on the privacy would be, when you are signing a petition for a signature gathering phase, are you signaling a choice? So if I signed a petition and I can only sign one, I think I can't, I couldn't walk in and go, every Republican running should be on the ballot and I'm signing all the petitions. I think you can only choose one. So if I'm signing the petition, we'll just pick on Derek Brown because he was just on the air, right? So if I sign the petition to get Derek Brown's name onto the ballot and I'm not allowed to sign the petition for Rachel Terry, right? Like the other person who was running, then I think I'm signaling a choice. And then I guess I feel my expectation of privacy would be as much as my signaling a choice at the ballot when I sign, just right when I hand in my ballot.
Yeah.
So you know that I voted. Maybe you know I signed a petition, but you probably shouldn't get to know whose petition I signed.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you have election integrity. I mean, should people be able to sign? I mean, I don't know if I'm articulating this very well yet, but there were some questions about some of the signatures. And for example, the Attorney General's race wouldn't be a good example, but let's say it's a county race, somebody running for county commissioner or something like that, and they went the signature process. I don't know if that's even appropriate. But this person who signed it doesn't live in the county. That would probably disqualify their signature. I mean, a statewide race, you're not disqualified. You could be disqualified for other things.
Is your point that we don't trust the elected official in charge of certifying?
Well,
and that's the election integrity and why we want transparency?
I think, well, to me personally, not necessarily, but I think that's what came up at the last cycle. People were really questioning some of the signatures that had been gathered by the candidates that ultimately ended up on the ballot. And let's face it, they were mostly Republicans, where their Republican challengers, those that came out of the convention, are going, wait a minute, we should be able to look at these signatures and make sure that they're good and that they're right, and that the people who signed them knew what they were doing. And well, not necessarily that, but that they recognized that they were appropriate people to have signed these.
So here's the thing. I've never run for office, right? So, and I just generally trust our elections officials. I tend to be a trusting person overall, not that cynical. But you have run for office, so you tell me, is the transparency that allows you when you didn't get what you wanted, right?
Right.
You know
I
what I mean? Is
understand.
that value set more important than someone's privacy? I'm not sure that it is. So a little bit, I feel like you don't get to have your way because I think the value of privacy around that vote choice matters more. I'm not sure I'm right, Greg.
And I think you and I are two people that respect the right to privacy as about as much as anything. And you know, I do it in my career. When I was a prosecutor and a defense attorney, you know, you do that. That's something that's near and dear to you. Election integrity, huge. It's a huge issue, and we want to make sure that it's fair. I think the signature gathering process in Utah has worked. I think some tweaks to it to make it a little more secure makes sense. Disclosing the names of individuals, it would seem like maybe there's some intermediary, like maybe there should be a committee that can look at them or something like that, instead of the elected person, the elected candidate, like you say, the Attorney General or the county clerk. I don't know that there's some intermediary or somebody else that, you know, the signature gathering committee, the signature gathering integrity committee. But just opening it up for the world at large seems, I don't know, that's a little problematic. And what I'm afraid of, Lee, and I know we're out of time, is that it will cause people to not want to sign it, thinking that, hey, my name's going to be out there. Let's talk about another state bill after the break, addressing non-U.S. flags in classrooms and other government-funded spaces. We'll talk about that after the break.
Get in zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one?
We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone. Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery?
We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery. Ends President's Day. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I think my battery's dead.
With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone. So what if I need a new one?
We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone. And what about my old battery?
We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Right now at Hale Center Theater, a beloved classic by Louisa May Alcott that everybody is familiar with delightfully comes to life on the stage. Little Women, the Broadway musical. This is something that generations have loved. The books, the movies, and now a lovingly enhanced version with the music. It's the story of the March family, and of course there are 4 very different daughters. It reaches out and touches your heart in new and masterful ways. There are so many wonderful moments, but one that particularly spoke to me when old crotchety Mr. Lawrence can't resist joining Beth at the piano to sing Off to Massachusetts. There are so many moments, the voices, the staging, the costumes you're going to love. Little Women, right now at Hale Center Theater. And coming up next, Prince of Egypt. It's time to get your tickets. Get your season tickets, too, at hct.org, Hale Center Theater.
If there's a problem during your siding, gutter, or window installation project, most contractors will try to hide it, ignore it, or blame someone else. It's called passing the buck or turning a blind eye, or my favorite, finger pointing. My question is, where is the accountability? Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and look, sometimes problems just happen, no matter who you hire. Maybe the wrong color siding gets delivered, despite the order being placed perfectly. Or maybe a downspout gets cut short. Honestly, it could be anything. At RGS Exteriors, mistakes are rare. But if something goes wrong, I can absolutely, positively, 100% guarantee you we'll never hide it, and we'll never pass the buck. We'll make certain everything turns out right for you. That's people over profits. That's the RGS Exteriors way. For a free estimate on siding, gutters, or windows, call 801-280-3110, rgsexteriors.com, rgsexteriors.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
The importance of political neutrality in government spaces versus the importance of free speech from people who work in those spaces. It's part of a bill, kind of the reason, if you will, for a bill working its way through the state legislature. House Bill 77, sponsored by House Representative Trevor Lee would ban most flags from classrooms and other government facilities, minus, of course, the United States and the Utah flag. So let's listen. We don't have Representative Lee on the air with us today, but we have a conversation with him from earlier. KSL News Radio spoke with State Representative Trevor Lee about the bill. Let's see what he says.
Any flag that has a political agenda attached with it or is considered political, we want to make sure that we keep that out of the classrooms, make kids feel comfortable, make sure it's an environment to learn and not feel like an agenda, whether it's a MAGA flag or a pride flag, is being pushed on the children.
So then we hear Representative Lee saying, like, what is the issue with the flag? The nature of the flags can interfere.
A classroom is not supposed to be politically, biased one way or another. And it's a place of learning. It's taxpayer-funded money. We make the law there. If you want to fly a flag at your own home, go ahead and do it all you want. But in a taxpayer-funded building or entity, we can control what is allowed to be displayed and if it's considered political and interfering with the children's education.
So, Greg, here we go. I need you to ramp yourself up as the free speech advocate. What do you think about this bill? I love how I just boxed you right in. I'm expecting you to say, me as an educator, I get to fly a flag.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the public schools. Kids should be sort of away from politics. A flag's a flag. I don't know that. I think it's an unnecessary bill, but it's something that maybe people are dealing with. I'm reading some of the context of here. Some young person was upset that there was a rainbow flag in their computer lab, and the parent was upset. Why are we doing this? The rainbow flag clearly has some political connotation. It clearly means something to people. I don't know that it. I guess the idea is if it's flown, it's supported, and in that context, maybe it's the school is sort of advocating for a certain position. In that respect, it might make sense. The flags that are okay are what they say official state or national flags, municipal flags. I don't know if Salt Lake City has its own flag, military flags, tribal flags, country flags, public university flags, or official public school flags. Altered versions of these flags would not be allowed. So it's not really limited to just the flag of the United States and the flag of Utah, but it's certainly limited compared to what we have now.
All right, but so what I hear you saying is that's fine because it's public institutions and the kids shouldn't have to see flags?
No, I didn't mean to say that. I don't know that I have a strong feeling about it. I don't. I guess the problem is this: how far do we go? What if it's a flag? What if it's a swastika? All of us would feel uneasy about that in the school. And although that might be more allowed than the rainbow flag because it's a flag of a country at the time or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that flag would be barred under this rule.
Right. Now, I think it's interesting. I fully expected you to say that humans had the right to fly a flag. So let me, I'll just lean into this here, Greg Skordas, and I'll be the hero for free speech.
Okay.
So a little bit, one of the things we are taught when we're trying to make connections with students, and I want to be clear, as someone who's a professor at a university, my students are all grown-ups. Mm-hmm. So I hear Trevor Lee's point, like, I'm not talking to 5-year-olds, right? So to a certain extent,
right.
These are different kinds of kids. But one of the things you're kind of advised to do is to try to bring your identity into the classroom so that students get to know you. It builds a welcoming community. So I have in my office all the Legos, right? So my students all know that I love Star Wars. So there are Lego Star Wars all over my office. I have my favorite founding father is Alexander Hamilton, and there's a picture of him and a little bobblehead of Alexander Hamilton. My least favorite is Thomas Jefferson, and I kind of have a bobblehead of him in the corner so they can all see that I don't like him as much. So sometimes I'm like signaling to my students me as a human being, right? So a little bit maybe, I don't know, if you start telling me what flags I get to put up, I am not allowed to have a Star Wars resistance flag. Does that make sense? Like, could I not let my students know what I'm interested outside of the classroom?
Yeah, but let me take your president analogy a little bit further. What if you had a poster of Barack Obama in your office, and you had a what are those dolls that you stick the pins in? A voodoo doll of a Republican, let's say Donald Trump, just for the sake of it, in your office. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that's a little problematic?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
So again, in our last segment, we kind of did
Alexander Hamilton versus Thomas Jefferson. I think a lot of us don't understand what ideology you feel is stronger than the other. You know what I mean? I think some students might not, but if it's a Republican Democrat, maybe they would.
Right. I mean, I think in the last segment we talked about like the value of privacy vis-a-vis versus the value of transparency. Maybe here we're talking about the value of freedom of expression,
right,
versus the value of institutional neutrality. Right. And yeah, like, so let's be clear. I have elections pins. So I have hanging in my office an Eisenhower, Richard Nixon.
I like Ike.
Right?
Yeah,
It's an
right.
I like Ike because my grandfather was a Republican.
Sure.
And when he died, all the political stuff went to me. I think my
Right.
family were like, she likes politics. Give her this weird stuff. So in my office, I have these like, how do I say, artifacts of political history hanging in my office. So I guess you could walk in and you might say, wow, she must be a huge fan of Nixon because up there is this Nixon campaign. I also have a Keep America Great Again flag in my office because someone gave it to me. Look, it is and in like 10 years, that's an artifact of political history. So what are you saying? Like I can only hang it once it's become history?
I was just going to say that. History, that's history. That's, talking about election and I like Ike and JFK. And, I can understand that. Maybe that's a difference without a distinction. But history is one thing. But if I pulled up to a school and they had a MAGA flag on their pole, I would feel uncomfortable as much as some people might feel uncomfortable with a Harris Waltz flag that happened to be left over, from November. You know what I mean? Like there's not that there were flags, but I'm just thinking, I don't know. I think that there's a potential problem here. So to me, the bill is I think it's got some good ideas behind it. I'm not sure I'm all that worked up about it. But on the other hand, I don't know that it was really necessary.
All right, so let me quote Equality Utah's policy director Marina Lowe saying, "This new language is likely unconstitutional and a violation of the First Amendment rights." Right, of government employees who, yes, are government employees, but are also humans who have First Amendment rights. So you're going to call, I don't know, I got to call the ACLU and tell them Greg Skordas does not believe in First Amendment rights. We thought he was a liberal.
Because, I guess if I'm looking at it, teachers in their classrooms would only be able to display. So it's not the school, it's a teacher in a classroom. So now I've sort of rethinking it a little bit. Because if you're teaching history, or you're teaching political science, I don't know, teaching mathematics, I guess, for that matter. I mean, maybe certain flags could mean something. It could spark dialogue and would spark, conversation about.
But even if I were a third grade teacher and I were a, good Lord forbid, a Green Bay Packer fan, am I not allowed to hang like a Packers flag in my classroom to show students that I like football?
Or you could wear one of those big cheese head helmets.
I could, but so I guess the answer is no, because the only flag that has value are flags that are historical.
That flag would not be allowed under this bill,
right.
which would seem silly. You're right.
All right. So I can't get you worked up about it.
No,
but you're like,
you're turning me as you always do. I always try to argue with you, but you always are right.
I love that. Please note that for the record. Coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, reciprocal tariffs are coming. That's according to President Trump. Let's talk about what those are, how they might affect your finances and the economy. More of our national news coming up after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top local story. Utah lawmakers did not vote on a proposal to make it easier for caseworkers to get a search warrant to check out reports of child abuse or neglect. Representative Christine Watkins' bill would allow judges to grant warrants to caseworkers if they can't see or contact a child that they've been requested to check on. She says the current process of getting a warrant can take a while.
Sometimes it just might be a matter of time and urgency.
Watkins told the House committee today that she's pushing for this in response to the high-profile abuse cases of Gavin Peterson and the children of Ruby Franke. Some in attendance voiced concern with making it easier to get warrants in cases where the report is unfounded. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The crew of the Black Hawk that collided with an American Airlines jet near D.C. might not have heard air traffic control instruct them to pass behind the plane.
The instructions from ATC were to pass behind the CRJ. That transmission was interrupted. It was stepped on. We do not have evidence on the CVR of the Black Hawk that they may have not received pass behind because the mic key. They were communicating with air traffic control at the time.
The NTSB chairman, Jennifer Homendy, says that the helicopter crew may have had bad information on altitude from their altimeter because the pilots had different accounts of the altitude in the seconds before that crash. Taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, the Dow down by 166 points, sitting at 44,545. S&P 500 down by just a fraction, but the NASDAQ is up by 81 points. Wet weather is stopped for now, but it's coming back. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time 2:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served. Or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a third-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
It's the Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. If the cold is seeping in through your old windows, Advanced Window Products will install state-of-the-art double-pane windows with insulated frames. Your home will take on an exciting new look, and you're going to save on your heating bill. And not for nothing, your air conditioning in summer. And right now, at the President's Day sale, you save $2,500 off 10 windows or more. For 38 years, Advanced Windows has been building beautiful custom windows and frames right here in Utah. There's no middleman, so you save. So keep out the cold, cut down your energy bills, and save $2,500 with one call to Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100. An expert comes out for a no-pressure consultation. They'll tell you about the payment plans, including no payments for 24 months. The Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. Get $2,500 off. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or just go to advancedwindows.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. What's happening, Ricky?
In West Valley, a small accident, northbound Bangerter Highway approaching the 21st South Freeway junction. And we still have some leftover heavy and slow traffic southbound I-15. This is just after Warm Springs Road down to 6 North. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperature is a little bit warmer today, but dropping again tomorrow. And we do have a 50% chance of snow tomorrow. Then on Sunday, a 40% chance. Right now, it's mostly cloudy, 48 degrees. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
President Donald Trump says there are trade imbalances between the United States and its foreign trade partners, and he will institute reciprocal tariffs to try and balance these relationships. It's a fine line the president is trying to straddle between a good economy and fairness. Earlier this week, President Trump reviewed reciprocal tariffs, saying this.
We'll be signing reciprocal tariffs. The world has taken advantage of the United States for many years. They've charged us massive tariffs that we haven't charged them.
President Trump spoke more about these reciprocal tariffs. He has as hard a time saying reciprocal as I do, so I don't feel too bad. When he was speaking to the Indian Prime Minister yesterday evening.
Right now, a reciprocal nation, we are going to, if it's India or if it's somebody else with low tariffs, we're going to have the same. We're going to have whatever India charges, we're charging them. Whatever another country charges, we're charging them.
Okay. What are reciprocal tariffs? We have with us this afternoon Robert Spendlove, senior economist for Zions Bank, who's going to help us break that down. Robert, tell our listeners, what is a reciprocal tariff?
Well, first of all, that is a horrible name. No one can say that word.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
So really what it is, it's payback tariffs. Trump is, and he's talked about this a lot, he thinks that other countries have treated us unfairly. He feels like other countries have taken advantage of the United States and imposed higher tariffs on our goods than we're imposing on them. And so rather than, if you think about the last couple of rounds, one of them was across the board on Canada and Mexico. And then the next one was just on steel or aluminum. This one is much more complex, and he's saying, whatever those countries are charging for U.S. goods going into those countries is what we're going to charge for imports coming from those countries to the United States.
Robert, so I'm a political scientist, so I'm just going to kind of bow to your expertise as an economist. But isn't this no longer capitalism? So talk to me about, I feel, free trade is actually capitalist working at its best. And I would have thought over the last 30 years, the United States really moved into free trade space. This feels very much like moving into protectionist space. I feel like that's a backward step in the way that we're trying to achieve goods moving around the planet, the way that I think capitalism is supposed to work. Can you just tell me if I'm wrong? Explain to me and our listeners how I've got that. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Well, that's the debate. This goes back 100 years. Yeah. If you go back to the 1930s, the Smoot-Hawley trade agreement was essentially this. It was imposing dramatic tariffs. By the way, Senator Reed Smoot represented Utah.
Right.
So, all this that we hear about the tariffs making the Depression so bad was a Republican from Utah that really started that. And essentially what it is, it's protectionism. It's kind of building up bigger walls, bigger borders, and becoming more isolationist. So here's the struggle, though. And you're right. Over the last several decades, we've been trying to promote this economy of global trade, of comparative advantage, saying let's identify what countries do best, have them do that, and then we all benefit from this interaction. And I'll just say this is the Trump administration, or President Trump's argument is that other countries are taking advantage of the United States. he's specifically upset with China. And he says, when you've got, when we helped China get into the World Trade Organization 25 years ago, the agreement was that we were going to have these kind of fair trades. And he says they've been abusing this, taking advantage of this, and kind of using their different system and their government support to undermine this global trade system. So he says because this global system has been undermined so much, we have to kind of hit reset.
Robert, talk to our listeners about the pros and cons of this. That is the big picture of Trump wanting to make the economy bigger. Are there downsides to these reciprocal tariffs that could it have the opposite effect?
Yeah, and that's one of the big risks is a tariff is a tax. And so if you're charging, let's just take cars. If you're charging a 20-30% tariff or tax on a car, who pays that cost? Is it going to be the originating country? Is it going to be the country that it goes into? Ultimately, it has to be paid by someone, and a lot of those costs are passed on to the consumer. So an example that we saw in the last Trump administration was they imposed 20 to 50% tariffs on washing machines. And the price of washing machines went up by 12%. Now, it wasn't that full 20 to 50, but the price did go up by about $100 per washing machine. Now, the interesting thing is also the price of dryers went up as well because they were matching those cost increases. So we actually did see those cost increases. Now, if this is just a tool for negotiation, then those costs can come back down. So you have to be careful about saying that it will cause inflation. It could cause a price increase, but then if they negotiate that away, then that price can go back down. For instance, with the washing machines, in 2023, they got rid of that tariff, and the price of washing machines dropped by 13%. So they're essentially back to where they were before. And but if you keep it in place, if as Trump has said, the goal of this is to be a complete reset, then it will result in permanently higher prices.
Yeah, so Robert, can you just tell me, I completely understand why we are frustrated with China. I don't think they actually understand capitalism, right? And I don't think they trade fairly and their currency is not on the open market. All of that makes sense. But then wouldn't you target tariffs at them? I mean, I feel like being frustrated with China and then, causing price increases and increasing tariffs just across the board, across the planet. Oh my gosh, when you just said, man, that people thought that led to the Great Depression, my stomach dropped, right? This doesn't feel like a super great idea.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Trump doesn't acknowledge the Smoot-Hawley period. What he says is he wants to go back to the McKinley period of the 1890s, and McKinley used tariffs to renegotiate a lot of these trade deals. Unfortunately, McKinley was killed. And so he wasn't able to follow through, but Trump says, I'm the person to follow through. I'll tell you, right now I'm reading a paper written by one of his top economic advisors. This paper was written in November of last year. It's called A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Trading System. So that's the goal, is they want a restructuring of the entire global trading system. And so they see this as a big part of that restructuring.
And does that restructuring, Robert, we've only got about a minute left, include maybe new trade agreements?
Absolutely. If you think about NAFTA, NAFTA's gone. NAFTA was replaced by the USMCA. That's gone too. They've kind of ripped up all these trade agreements, and they're saying it's time to renegotiate these. And we think the United States needs to be at a stronger and a playing field with the rest of the countries.
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And coming up on Inside Sources, let's head to Europe and discuss the conversation Vice President J.D. Vance had today with Ukrainian President Zelensky on the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. That's up next.
Join the smartest conversation in Utah, the team of analysts and political advisors that make up Inside Sources. Get unfiltered analysis of the new administration, the president's cabinet, and Utah's upcoming legislative session. Inside Sources, weekdays from 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
This is Rod with great news for Utah homebuyers. When you hire the SaveRight team of realtors at Realty Path, you get a BankBuster loan with a fixed interest rate in the 5s. What is a BankBuster loan? A Bankbuster loan gives you a fixed interest rate in the 5s. Bankbuster loans give you maximum buying power. Monthly payments can be up to $800 lower. Bankbuster loans can save you hundreds of thousands in mortgage interest. Get your Bankbuster loan when you hire the Save Right team of realtors to help you buy a home. Start with a rate in the 2s. Ask us how. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com. Get way more home for a lot less money. Get a Bankbuster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
Camping season is right around the corner, and Motorsportsland is throwing a huge RV party in the KZ RV Megatent at our Mill Creek store. Come and check out hundreds of RVs, accessories, and exciting activities including kids' movie nights, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, food trucks, a live performance with Ryan Shoup and the Rubber Band, and did we mention over $30,000 in prizes? Event sponsors include KZRV, Owned by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. Buy your RV with us this week and we'll beat any local dealer price or give you $100 cash. Check out motorsportsland.com for event schedule and guarantee details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Megatent RV event.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Febreze.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you're driving to work or you're driving the kids to a soccer game, we're your in-car companions.
People will come up to me and say, "Oh, I talk to you every day. You don't realize it because I'm talking at the radio, but I talk to you every day."
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Ukrainian President Zelensky urged the United States to, quote, not make any decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine, end quote. His warning came prior to his meeting with United States Vice President J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Conference today. It's prompted some additional questions about the United States' role in promoting and ensuring peace among other countries. You're here with me, Leah Murray, alongside my good friend Greg Skordas. Greg, let's listen to Zelensky before the meeting.
Prepare the plan, how to stop Putin and finish the war. We want peace very much, but we need real security guarantees.
And here's Vance before the meeting.
It's important for us to get together and start to have the conversations that are going to be necessary to bring this thing to a close. That's all I'm going to say for now, because I want to preserve the optionality here from the negotiators and our respective teams to bring this thing to a responsible close.
And another comment from Vance before the meeting.
We want the war to come to a close. We want the killing to stop, but we want to achieve a durable, lasting peace, not the kind of peace that's going to have Eastern Europe in conflict just a couple years down the road.
And Leah, this falls on the heels of Trump's apparent 90-minute conversation with Vladimir Putin. And after that was over, Trump made some statement that, hey, we're working toward peace in Ukraine. And that's why Zelensky is saying, well, decisions about Ukraine won't be made without Ukraine, because he felt, at least seemingly, that he was not part of that conversation. So wait a minute, President Trump and Vladimir Putin, don't settle this war without talking to us.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I feel and felt very strongly when Russia invaded Ukraine a couple of years ago that Russia needs to leave, right? So, and what I've been listening to over the last couple of days, President Trump speaking with Putin. If you want to end the war, someone has to talk to him, right? Like Putin has to be talked to, and then President Trump is speaking with Zelensky, and I'm not sure he ever said, like, Ukraine wouldn't be at the table. I think what was somewhat, scary is that what Ukraine is asking for, kind of territorial, right, from pre-2014, going back to original territory, is probably not on the table, right? So the conversation, I like how Vance talks about that. We want Europe not to be back here again, right? We want Europe not to be back here again, having this conversation around how we back in some kind of regional conflict. But a little bit, Greg, so you just correct me if you think I'm wrong. My answer, and again, it's been every time we talk about this on this show, is someone has to tell Putin, right? Russia, to me, was the instigator, right? Russia is the country that invaded. So what we need is for Putin, and I think Zelensky's saying the same thing, very important for me, Zelensky says, to pressure Putin, right? And then Zelensky saying, I think President Trump is ready to do that. He has all this power to do that. So I hear Zelensky thinking that Trump is going to be a good actor, right? As an ally in this and pushing Putin back.
I think that's wishful thinking. I really do. And I think Trump signaled so much during the election about what he would do. And he said some things about that particular war, which is, why are we funding why are we doing all this work for NATO? Why don't other countries step up to the plate? And why are we involved in this anyway? He said, I think at one point, if Putin wanted to move into other territories, let him. That's his call. Now, he's backed off of that now, the fact that he was meeting with the Russian president yesterday. But I would also say this, Putin gets 90 minutes with Trump. Zelensky gets whatever time with J.D. Vance. What does that say? To me, it says maybe Ukraine isn't as important to the Trump administration as Russia. And maybe I don't know, maybe I was going to say maybe they shouldn't be. Obviously, they should be. But in terms of the big picture, there's a lot more to be gained probably from Trump, who's really transactional in so much of what he does by dealing with Russia than it is to deal with Ukraine. I don't know if I've said much there, but I just think Trump's coddling a little bit more to Russia than he would be to Ukraine.
Yeah, okay. So I am.
I'm sorry, that's how I feel.
Yeah, defending President Trump a little bit in this negotiation, being very mindful that neither you nor I were in the room when any of these conversations were happening. I think that President Trump is very much a deal maker, right? And I think he understands that Putin is the aggressor in this, right, interaction. So maybe it makes sense to figure out, like, what does he say? Trump says, as far as the negotiation, it's too early to see what is going to happen. I'm reading off of ABC News, just kind of quotes from this. And Trump says maybe Russia will give up a lot, maybe they won't. Right. But basically, he's probably thinking we got to open the door to get Putin to the table if we're going to end this conflict. Zelensky's already at the table. I don't know, Greg. So maybe that is the right move to have the longer conversation with Putin.
I agree. How does Putin get out of this, though, with his own populace? How does he save face? I mean, Zelensky would be just as happy to go back to square one. Where were we the day before the invasion? Let's go back to that. Russia can't do that because then it was all for naught and it was a mistake. And I don't see Putin doing that. He wants something. And is Trump going to broker something where Ukraine gives something away? And I think that's where Zelensky is saying, wait a minute, don't be settling this conflict without making me part of the equation. Because a Trump-Putin agreement is going to look like, let's figure out something that Ukraine can give so that we can walk away from this with everybody happy. And Ukraine's saying, don't do that without us.
Right. I mean, I think it's interesting. The Trump administration, what do we have? We have our Department of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ruling out NATO membership. We've got our vice president having a conversation with Zelensky. We have got our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, at this meeting today in Munich trying to figure out how to manage this. So I guess I don't see that as walking away from Ukraine. Does that make sense? Like, that doesn't sound to me like anyone is saying this doesn't matter. And again, it's really interesting. If we don't look strong here, and I have to think a Trump administration understands this, then any conversation we are having with China, who we've all have identified as a major, state nation actor that we are concerned about, they see us as weak, right? That actually matters. And I think that plays a role as well, Greg.
Yeah, let's shift gears just a little bit because Vance was in Munich for a security conference, and he also talked about immigration. And I just want to shift just a little bit, but he was speaking to some European officials about that, and here's what he had to say.
How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction?
And here's a little bit more about what he said about that.
No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants.
And of course, he's in Europe, so he's talking about the continent there. I mean, what do you think the message is there? Why do you think the United States sent him there to give that message?
Well, I don't know that they sent him there to give that message, right? There was an attack in Munich. So Vance is reacting to the person who drove a car and people died. There are deadly incidents. So I think Vance is, when he says, how many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks? What he's talking about is the lack of security in the region.
Yeah, and but also talking about the stem of illegal migration, talking about maybe that's part of the reason for some of these things. I don't know. I mean, there's so much going on right now. What do you think? Do you think Trump is using Vice President Vance in a good way so far, sending him out, doing a little bit more than I think Biden did with Kamala Harris?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, right? So what are the thing we said about Vice President Harris the entire time was we never saw her.
Right.
Right? Whereas now we see J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, taking a very center role in conversations in Europe, in conversations with Ukraine. Oh my gosh, Greg, I'm just going to pitch this question right back at you and say, do I think Trump is using Vance better than Biden used Harris? I do. Do you agree?
So far, yes, I do think so. He's also using his co-president, Elon Musk, in a very interesting way. And I'm sorry, I'm being
Greg
smart aleck here.
Yeah,
okay, I'll give that
being...
up. Okay, but Vice President Vance has a lot to say. I think he was picked for a reason, and I think that Trump using him and right out of the gate, sending him to this big conference in Germany, talking with European officials, talking with Ukrainian officials, says a lot about where Trump's level of confidence is in him.
Yeah, so next up on Inside Sources, we've talked a lot about infighting among the Republicans on this show. Let's focus a minute on the Democrats. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story. A Utah lawmaker wants to ban political flags from classrooms and public buildings within the Beehive State.
This bill would ban all but a few flags from being displayed in publicly funded places like classrooms and state and city buildings.
Unless the flag is clearly defined that I have here in the bill, you are not allowed to display that flag so that we can keep political neutrality throughout our schools and any of our taxpayer-funded entities that we have.
Representative Trevor Lee's bill does allow for the national flag, the state flag, municipal flags, military flags, tribal flags, and a few others. One opponent says regardless of the intent of this bill, the effect will be the removal of acknowledgement and support for LGBTQ plus people in public spaces. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story from ABC News. Vice President Vance is in Germany right now and gave a speech earlier today criticizing European leaders and their crackdown against online speech.
Under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Vance is also meeting with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky to talk about finding an end to the war with Russia. Anyone who still needs a date for Valentine's Day is in luck. Best Friends Animal Society in Salt Lake says that people can foster a dog or cat just for the night. Animals can be picked up between 11:30 this morning and 5 tonight. They need to be brought back on Saturday or Sunday. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow down by 165 points. The closing at 44,546. S&P down by just a fraction, and the NASDAQ up by 81 points. Coming up, the rain and snow is going to stick around for a while. We'll check weather coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I'm proud to tell you we don't lay off employees when things get tough. During the pandemic, we didn't let one of our installers go. Instead, we had them clean and remodel our offices so they could still get paid. Remember the 2008 housing crisis? It was a financial nightmare for even the biggest contractors. Still, we didn't lay off a single worker. Nope, we sacrificed profits to keep paying everyone. Look, when the economy's down, most contractors are quick to lay off their workers. It's the easiest way to save money when times get tight. But at RGS Exteriors, we're loyal to our people. You know why? Because it's the right thing to do. People first, people always. That's the RGS way. For gutters, siding, windows, and more, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com, 801-280-3110.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
April breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's Business Solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have trouble in traffic blocking a left lane eastbound SR 201 prior to 9th West and the I-15 junction. It is causing some delay. A small crash in Draper northbound I-15 before the 146 South exit, but out of traffic on the shoulder. Looking for the perfect suit for that special occasion? Mr. Mac has the best suit selection for any occasion, and get winter clearance pricing today. Visit their 9 convenient locations or MrMac.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Rain will continue on and off through the day, and overnight the rain turns back to snow when the temperature drops. Then we could see a few flurries on Sunday and then another rain-snow mix on Monday. Right now it's mostly cloudy, 50 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
The identity crisis among Democrats continues as more moderate Democrats in Congress voice concerns about the number of liberal progressives joining what's called the New Democratic Coalition. The New Democratic Coalition is really a hot ticket on Capitol Hill right now. It's up to 110 members of what they're calling a center-left group, seeing an uptick in its members, and some who used to be involved in what they called the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which was a more conservative group. So the Democrats seem to be concerned.
No, pause. Progressive Congressional Caucus is a more liberal group.
Oh, okay. So they're... I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Yes, the Congression. Did I say conservative?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because
no,
I'm
I
stupid.
know that you know what you're talking about.
Right.
You just
Okay.
misspoke.
Right.
Yeah,
The competing progressive caucus. They are a more center group than that.
All right. So, Greg Skordas, you are KSL's resident Democrat.
Yes.
Do you think Democrats' brand image would benefit from being more progressive, which is way to the left, or from engaging in some more center-left, more moderate positioning?
I think they absolutely need to become to more center-left moderate position.
Why?
That's why I'm talking about this New Democratic Coalition. I think as both parties move further to the right and further to the left, that there's a huge number of voters in America who are feeling disenfranchised, and we're missing out on those. And Democrats especially missed out on those in this last election cycle by doing whatever. I don't know what they did wrong. I mean, except messaging was awful. But I think that there's a huge group of voters who feel like and Utah's a perfect example, but we're talking nationally, who feel like they're disenfranchised. You're either Democrat or Republican. So many states are red or blue, and so what's the purpose in voting? I think if you can reach out to these more centrist groups, you might be able to get more people to come and vote Democrat.
So let me just say, here in Utah, I had a conversation with a student last week who said, no. It is absolutely the case that Democrats should move much more to the left so that young people would want to vote for them, very much leaning into if we all had just picked Bernie Sanders in 2016, Democrats would have done so much better. They would have won the presidency twice. Very much articulating something different from what you're saying, Greg. And this is a Utah Democrat young man in one of my classes talking about, like, Bernie's vision was the vision. But you are not persuaded by that. You don't find that kind of radical left movement to be...
I don't think young voters came out and supported the Democrats anyway. I mean, I really don't. I think young voters are more and more looking at both sides. And I don't think... I mean, people thought Kamala Harris, she's young, she's vibrant, obviously female, and Trump is an older man. He's been around so long, and let's have some change. Let's bring the younger people in. And after the Democratic convention, we all thought young voters are going to carry the day. They're going to bring Kamala to the White House and get rid of the Biden, get rid of the Trump, get rid of the old guard. Let's bring somebody new in that's so fresh. And it didn't work. So I don't know that. I mean, obviously the Dems need to do a lot better with the young voter, but they didn't do a good job with the young voter.
So it's interesting because
to me,
yeah, earlier in the last segment, you kind of talked about, what did you call him? The co-president.
yes,
Elon Musk. So one of the things Democrats are talking about is maybe focusing on Musk and the threat of Musk. So I like how you called him the co-president, which felt like a little bit of shade from Greg Skordas to Elon Musk. What we have is Senator Elizabeth Warren. She at rallies are talking about Doge's infiltration for every American, she says, who doesn't want some weird Elon Musk suck up searching through your personal private data. This is your fight. But a little bit, the polling hasn't moved. So I don't know that people find that to be a compelling message. So let me pick on you, resident Democrat here at KSL. What message would work? So it's not young, it's not being a woman, it's not being something new and fresh, it's not anti-Elon Musk. What on earth do Democrats have to say to make anyone want to vote for them?
I think Democrats, and this is something, I'll go to Bernie Sanders a little bit on this, need to go to the working class. They need to work with a minimum wage would work. Not shying away from labor would work. And I think trade with other countries, just doing what you can to get more people working, more young people working, more young people being able to afford a house, to buy certain things that they can't buy right now. Because let's face it, the Democrats, when I was a kid, were seen as sort of the beer and pretzel party. Now there's the wine and cheese, and I'm being a smart aleck here, but they're these intellectuals, these great thinkers, these great liberals. That doesn't play well to the American public. But what plays well, what I've seen playing well with young people that would bring them to the Democrats is get back to the working class. Let's do something about wages. Let's do something about house prices. Let's do something to get young people enthused about politics because maybe they can afford a house.
So basically, Democrats should be President Trump. Greg Skordas, you're a fan of the president. Isn't that true? His messaging is very much a populist message. His messaging is very much, trying to work to make people be able to afford homes, trying to make it that young people, can get ahead in this economy.
But the Democrats will do it. I mean, he's not doing it.
I'm not sure that he's not. We talked earlier with an economist about his protectionist moves with regard to global trade in an effort to protect jobs here in America.
Sure.
So I feel everything you just articulated sounds just like a Trump administration, and maybe that's the answer.
A Trump administration in messaging, but not in practice. Let's face it. What we're doing right now is. Well, I don't want to go down that road. I just think we're coddling to the very rich right now in this country, the extremely rich, the billionaires, and if that's
by we you mean Democrats?
We as a country.
Okay.
I mean that's what we voted in. That's what happened in the last election cycle. I mean that's what we have is these oligarchs. Is that where we want to be? Is that where we want to be as a country? I mean, I'm looking at these TV screens in front of us talking about how many millions of dollars Trump's made since the election. I mean, that's not what we want. That's not a message. And I do think Trump has done a pretty good job of sort of cutting back government spending. I mean, he's gone way too far in a lot of respects, which I think is going to hurt our country in the long run horribly. But his message was cut back the government. That maybe makes some sense. Cut back, if that affects taxes at some point, maybe so. I mean, but then you look at other things like American aid to other countries. Those come back. Those pay us back. Let's look at the Department of Education. I mean, how much, maybe I'm talking to the wrong person here because you're an educator, but how much benefit do we give our people by having a department that can help us sort of have standards nationally in terms of our education instead of saying, oh, the states can just deal with it because the states aren't going to deal with it. You know what I mean? I just think a national approach to so much is better than a local approach on a lot of issues, but the public doesn't agree with that, and I think the Democrats haven't done a good job of messaging that.
All right, so now I hear you saying it's not about being a Trump administration, maybe, Greg. It's about explaining what Democrats stand for better?
Yeah, and what do they stand for? I mean, I think we have a hard time in this state.
Do you even know?
What they stand for.
Yeah, and the answer, right, like if you don't know, my goodness, they have not messaged well.
They haven't messaged well, and that's the problem, and that's why Democrats did so poorly in Utah this year. I mean, our message was bad. I mean, we did worse locally than we did nationally in Utah. You look at what happened in I'll just say it, Salt Lake County, Kamala Harris wins, but none of our state candidates win. That's inexcusable.
Right.
When we come back after the break, do you know what today is?
I do. Do you?
Yes, I was reminded as I was driving to work today when my wife said Happy Valentine's Day, and I went, oops. Anyway, it's Valentine's Day, but it's not over. It's not over. We'll be back.
Salt Lake Community College doesn't just support students. We support the economy.
Partnership we have with Salt Lake Community College provides us with that skilled workforce that really allows us to grow. Stadler is in an explosive growth cycle. Salt Lake Community College is the pipeline to give us that workforce that will keep us stable and provide us with that economic security.
SLCC is invested in creating a strong workforce for a strong Utah. See our impact at slcc.edu/community.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Boy, right after the holidays, everyone needs a little cash, right?
Oh, yes.
We have great news for you. Right now, UCCU, Utah Community Credit Union, will pay you for your auto loan and credit balances. So all you have to do is just transfer your auto loan or your credit card balance to UCCU. And on top of giving you a low interest rate, which will save you money, UCCU will give you 1% cash back up to $250 on every loan you transfer.
Amanda, as soon as I heard about this, I said, I'm in this exact situation. I transferred. I actually had to have 2 loans to get my car a year ago.
Yeah.
Long story. Got it consolidated into one, and they paid me 1% back for each thing. I've got 1 payment now instead of 2. It's so much easier, and it took me maybe basically an hour. I just went straight to the website. I applied. They said, you got to send me these documents. I did, and all of a sudden, within a couple of days, I had it all set.
This is how easy they are to work with, always looking for ways to help you and your family. You can find out more on the UCCU mobile banking app or just go to uccu.com/transfer. Utah Community Credit Union. You're going to love where you bank.
Bish's is skipping this year's big RV show for a big reason. It costs each dealer a fortune, and guess who gets stuck with the bill? Yep, you. So skip the big show expense and come to the Bish's RV Better Than Show Pricing on-site event, February 13th through the 15th at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork. You'll get free admission, free parking, and Better Than Show pricing on our entire inventory at both locations. Not just a few models we hauled to the show. Find pricing starting as low as $139 per month on approved credit and make 0 payments until May OAC. Plus, every remaining new 2024 on the lot is on clearance. And Bish's is the only place to shop the exclusive full lineup of Wayfinder RVs. Start shopping the best deals now at skipthervshow.com. Get free admission to the Better Than Show pricing on-site event, February 13th through the 15th at Bish's RV in Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin. OAC, based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock numbers 84832, 84308. Subject to prior sale. See delivery details. Deal number 822B426B.
All the other programs out there push the drugs, and I wanted to do it not using drugs.
Worried about all the side effects from the new weight loss drugs? Let Soda Weight Loss help you let go of the weight for good, without drugs, injections, or side effects.
It was just time. We saw ourselves in a picture and said, let's do it. And he called, and it's just been a wonderful journey. Soda has all the parts that made it successful for us to lose weight. The counseling without drugs, it's the best program in my book.
Soda Weight Loss is the #1 weight loss program in America for client satisfaction and results. And we have the proof at sodaweightloss.com. Right now, when you join with a partner, you only pay for one. Let Soda Weight Loss help you drop that belly fat faster than you ever dreamed, naturally. Go to sodaweightloss.com right now. Achieve your weight loss goals with your partner and only pay for one. New clients only. Join now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is state of the art.
Hi, Susan. We haven't seen or heard from you.
Cold.
We would like to locate Joyce.
The mysteries that made podcast history
Cherie Warren disappeared.
are now together for free at kslpodcasts.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, the host of Cold. Join me for Season 1, The Susan Powell Case Files, Season 2, Justice for Joyce, and Season 3, The Search for Cherie. Listen anytime for free at kslpodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
So, Greg Skordas, we are getting texts because you apparently forgot to buy something for your wife for Valentine's Day. So, if anyone has feelings about what Greg can do to make up for this terrible lapse, please do text us at 57500 or whatever it is your favorite Valentine's Day thing to do. But here, I'm just going to tell you, Greg, I forgot Valentine's Day as well. Come running down the stairs this morning to head out the door to get to work, and my husband has beautiful yellow roses because yellow is my favorite color, a little package of Reese's Pieces, which are my favorite candy, and a beautiful card. And I said, oh, it's Valentine's Day. And then I had to run.
You are so lucky to have such a wonderful husband.
He's better at all things than I am. So I run back up the stairs. Oh, yeah, thank you very much for the Valentine's Day. So, but you, unlike my husband, total fail. So you decided to send flowers for your wife to your office, which is not where she lives.
I know. I made the huge mistake, and you called me on it because, lazy me, I just gave my paralegal my credit card and said, hey, will you just order some flowers for my wife?
Which is not actually your paralegal's job.
No, not for a moment. And I told her that. I said, I know this isn't your job, but can you just please do this for me? And she was so nice, but she had them delivered to the office. So honey, if you're listening, they're in the car. They're very pretty, and I'm going to have them home here in a little while. But I did get flowers, and I planned it in advance. I just didn't think about it this morning when I was leaving the house.
I also want you all to know that he's been advised to get a Minky Couture blanket because apparently that makes people happy. Also been advised to maybe stop at a gluten-free bakery to buy her some cookies.
I got to get her something right.
So there's all sorts of advice coming in for Greg Skordas. It is interesting. I'm not a huge fan, Greg, of what I call Hallmark holidays. So it feels like there's all sorts of pressure on a Valentine's Day. Does that make sense? So what bothers me about it is if you are someone who is not in a relationship, this might feel super uncomfortable, right? Or it might make you sad. Another thing, too, is if you are someone who's not interested in being in a relationship, maybe this causes you just to be annoyed because this holiday is going on. Or if you're someone like me, just totally forgets that I was supposed to buy a card, then you feel like a jerk because your husband did a really good job and you totally failed.
Yeah, or if you're like me and you just adore your wife 365 days of the year, what difference does Valentine's Day make, right? Hey,
every day there's flowers.
You're my Valentine all year long. But anyway, honey, if you're listening, you're my Valentine.
All right, so let's talk about some unexpected Valentine's Day trends because I wanted to end our show here today because it is Valentine's on this. Actually, what's kind of interesting, 63% of women would rather stay home. So we are polling, what would you like to do on Valentine's Day? And the answer basically is everyone on the planet's going out, and 63% of women would rather be home watching a show, hanging out on the couch, and not being out.
Because I always think about a nice dinner on Valentine's Day. I always think about going out.
Are you doing that? Are you taking her out for dinner tonight?
No. Because we have company. My family's in town, so we're Valentining with my daughter and her husband. But I usually like to do a nice dinner on Valentine's Day. But that's interesting. 63% of women would rather stay home and bring in takeout or something.
Yeah, maybe do takeout. So here's some other advice for you, Greg, from our listeners. You should write a personal letter to her to tell her why she is your Valentine 365 days of the year. Your words can really mean the world. Another listener saying you should just call right now and buy tickets and get her tickets to Tahiti.
Oh, that would be the best.
That would be
if
the
I
answer.
could go with her, that'd be good. That'd be even better, right? Tickets for her and one of her friends, right?
Here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. Did you propose to your wife on Valentine's Day?
No. You know what? I proposed to her on my birthday. It was funny. But anyway,
You're like, happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
You're
yes.
so lucky.
Yes, it was my birthday.
52% of women think that Valentine's Day proposals are actually overrated. So Don't take them out to dinner. Don't propose. You want to know what the top trending date is, Greg?
What?
Going to an arcade.
Yeah, well, not if you're my age.
Oh, really? Okay, so why? You and your wife wouldn't go play like Pac-Man?
Are you kidding? I mean, do you need to know an answer for that? I'll take the Donald Trump answer. It's common sense.
It's common sense?
Yeah, it's common sense. I don't know. I mean, I think arcades are fun. I think if you're young, if you're your 20s or 30s, that could be a lot of fun. I don't know. People in their 60s don't go to arcades. Maybe they do. It's just not my deal.
All right, so what?
My wife, I don't think, would like going to an arcade.
She wouldn't want to go to an
But
arcade.
you know what? I've never tried it, so maybe I should take her.
And considering you forget.
Right, yes.
Or what did you say earlier? You are her Valentine every day of the year.
She's
so I feel like
mine,
you could take
right.
her to an arcade tomorrow
that's
and it would
right,
still
right.
count. All right. So one thing that's kind of been fun, I don't know if you ever watched the show Parks and Rec, but one of the characters on there did something called Galentine's Day, right? Where
Never heard that word.
all of her female friends got together. They would give each other gifts celebrating Valentine's Day. Makes it kind of good if you're not in a relationship, right? Because the single women in the group still get still
that
get
sounds
chocolate,
like fun.
still get cards. And apparently, 41% of men are feeling left out and would like to have a male equivalent to Galentine's Day.
Which is called?
Well, what do you think it should be called?
Well, they're saying here, Broentine, like bro, gals and bros, Broentine's Day. They can gather, drink questionable craft beer, talk about sports, equal opportunity for forced fun.
Didn't say talk about sports. The article
I
said
know. I didn't want to use the word that
grunt
they used.
about sports.
Grunt about sports.
All right, so talk to me about that, Greg. So you're forgetting to do anything for your wife?
What would you think if your husband said, "Hey, it's Valentine's Day. I'm going out with the guys"?
Well, I'd be thrilled. Because I will
No,
stay
you
home
won't.
on the couch and
No, you
watch
wouldn't.
TV.
Like,
Absolutely.
what's up with that?
Or if I were your wife, I'd go to Tahiti without
Right,
you,
yes.
and you can have your Broentine's Day.
Right. I'm going out with the bros tonight. It's Valentine's Day. We're doing Broentine's Day. No, I would never do that.
Greg, what is the most, well, yeah, but you don't, okay. What is the most romantic thing you've ever done for your wife on Valentine's Day?
I think it would have been a really nice private dinner. She and I enjoy really nice food. We just enjoy that, and I think that going to some place like that, with the candles and the ambiance, I think is a lot of fun, and I love doing that for her. I really do. To me, that's Valentine's Day. But to 63% of women, they'd rather stay home. I should ask her that in the future. But it wasn't staying home. I can tell you that. Staying home is
If
not.
I were interviewing your wife and you're all, absolutely, it's a dinner and it's private and there's candles, and she's thinking, yeah, that's not what I want to have happen at all.
But she likes that. We going out to dinner is that's our date. That's date night for us. Just a fun, wild, different food kind of a dinner thing.
Greg, tell me, how much trouble are you in that you didn't have flowers this morning in the house?
Well, I mean, the fact that it's 3:00 in the afternoon and she doesn't have flowers, I'm in modest trouble.
You're
I'm
in
sure some
modest
of her
trouble?
friends have gone, "So, what did Greg get you? What do you got? What do you got there?"
And the
Rebecca?"
answer is
she's like,
nothing.
well, nothing yet, but he might be home soon.
So what does that do for your behavior over the weekend? Are you going to go skiing all weekend, or now that you're in modest trouble, do you have to stay home and, be romantic?
I'm doing the worst thing I could. I work for the ski patrol at Powder Mountain, and I'm scheduled to work all weekend.
Oh my gosh,
So,
Greg.
I mean, I'm not even going to be home this weekend. I'm going to be skiing, and she doesn't ski. So, yes, I'm not the Valentine person I should be.
You're not a lot.
Right, I know. I'm going to be gone all week. I worked all week. I worked on the weekend up at Powder Mountain, but it's going to be Powder. So, for me, that's like...
All right, so here's what I'm saying. I feel like the Mickey Couture blanket is a yes. I think the tickets to
the
gluten-free cookies
bagel. I'll go
absolutely
grab
is
one
a
of
yes.
those on the
I
way home.
think the tickets to Tahiti's absolutely a yes. My goodness.
We haven't talked about you. Come on. You've got a minute left. What are you doing?
Actually, we're going to a play this evening. So for Valentine's Day, my husband and I are headed out to a play.
See, now that's a way cool thing. I mean, really, that's a Valentine's Day thing.
But remember, he's better at it than I am. So
Yeah, well, he
he's the
planned
one
it,
who does
right,
the planning,
right.
right?
And what did he leave you this morning?
I got yellow flowers, which when I got in here, our producer said was, what did he say? Like breakup flowers? No. I think he said they're about
Makeup?
friendship
Yeah.
right? But they're just my favorite color. And I got some chocolate and I got a card.
Good for you. Well, I'm glad you...
Before I left the house at 7:30 this morning.
And he got... Thank you.
And he got, whoops, I forgot there was a holiday.
Right. There you go. There you go.
But, I win, you lose. That's okay.
Happy
That's all right.
Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day. All right. Thank you for listening to Inside Sources. We're off on Monday for President's Day. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Have a wonderful weekend.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
A couple of the real Casanovas walking out of the studio now. 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan right now in Salt Lake City. We're at 49 degrees, KSL's top story. In 2002, it was Mitt Romney. Next time around, the job of running the Olympics has been handed to former Utah House Speaker Brad Wilson. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is at the Capitol. He's joining us live. Eric?
Jeff, the announcement just happened moments ago here at the Capitol, where it was revealed that Wilson will lead the organizing committee as CEO. He emphasized that part of his vision is to ensure U.S. athletes take home the gold.
I don't know if we should say this or not publicly, but we want U.S. athletes to excel in 2034, and we want to do everything we can to help support a healthy pipeline of athletes.
Wilson also pointed out that there could be future Olympians in Utah right now who don't even know it yet, and he's focused on planting that seed in the community as they move forward. Fraser Bullock will now take on the role of chair of the committee. Reporting live on the Hill, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
So it's Brad Wilson on top. The honorary vice chairs of the 2034 Games, House Speaker Mike Schultz and Senate President Stuart Adams. Schultz says the Olympics is a love-hate relationship now, isn't it? Schultz stresses, though, the ultimate goal is to enhance the quality of life for all Utahns. KSL News Time 3:00.